It's the small things.
Endwalker was just such an unforgettable expansion.
Sometimes we'd get kicked out, they'd lock the house.
Endwalker is approaching its conclusion after, at the time of recording, 818 days. There's around half a year left until Dawntrail releases, and aside from the impending Final Fantasy XVI collaboration event, we are not going to be getting much in the way of content updates until the next expansion hits. For many, this is a period in their Final Fantasy XIV hobby for catch-up, for tackling side content, or for a break. More than that though, I think it's a good time for reminiscing and reflecting on the experiences of the last 2 years. I love hearing those stories of moments that will be remembered forever, of players and their proudest victories. You can always tell by the way they speak that they're smiling while discussing those memories. And honestly, I can't get enough of them. So, today, I asked 100 content creators about their absolute best memories during the last few years of FF14, what they're most looking forward to in Dawntrail, and how much they can bench. Okay, maybe that last one's a little bit made up. Just as a little disclaimer, I did contact 100 creators, that much is true. In fact, I actually contacted 103. Now 100 creators didn't reply. The number that got back to me and recorded something was around 45-ish. Now that's pretty good, honestly, I think. I was pretty taken aback at the number of people that both knew who I even was and were willing to take time out of their day to record something for me. Turns out that a lot of people have pretty busy lives and either didn't end up being able to record something or flat out don't award me, and that's alright. So now, me, you, and some of those creators that have dedicated so much time to this game are gonna look back at Endwalker together. The run-up to the expansion itself was absolutely wild. Shadowbringers had been a massive boom for the popularity of Final Fantasy XIV on the whole, and as the culmination of a 10-year saga loomed ever nearer, with some of the most hyped new job additions in the game's history, excitement was at an all-time high.
You know, it's kind of interesting because I consider the end of Shadowbringers to almost be like an Endwalker memory.
I think when Endwalker came out, it was the first time I truly was considering myself as a Final Fantasy XIV content creator. I think the biggest milestone for me was actually being able to take part of the Endwalker media tour.
It just felt like Endwalker's anticipation and the anxiety of it coming out, it was like twofold. So it feels to me like an extension of Endwalker.
Endwalker released. The main scenario was the densest yet, packed with emotional moments, intense encounters, and a real canon ending for the saga that had been slowly building up since A Realm Reborn. At level 83 we went to the moon and battled toe-to-toe with an antagonist that had been looming in the background forever, in a trial that many didn't expect to come so fast.
I did not expect him as the first primal fight. So when we got the reveal and saw him in the flesh, my mind was blown! His design was absolutely crazy and exactly what I was hoping for, not to mention how wonderful his theme music and Japanese voice acting were. 11 out of 10 would watch him get sundered again.
We travelled through the impending doom of the final days, made a gambit that saw us venturing to the world unsundered, reuniting with Emet-Selch in Elpis.
When I reached Elpis in MSQ, and I ran around thinking that it was a total dream simulation similar to the city of Amarot in Shadowbringers. And then when it dropped and I had like a shocking plot twist I accidentally set up for myself, I was sassing Emmett back the whole time, and I had this sudden realization that he was real and actually standing there. Emmett will remember this.
We discovered the existence of Meteion, the cause of the final days, and about the power of Dynamis, before setting a course to the universe's edge to stop her, besting Hydaling along the way.
I could probably spend hours talking about how impactful the story was for me, how much I love the characters. My character stumbles upon Alice and Grahatia sleeping, and they were like studying or getting ready for something, but they were both like sound asleep. So it was just this really simple interaction where my character stumbles beside them and then kind of just sits down beside them and closes his eyes. It was, I don't know, it was just this very like peaceful, calm moment despite everything going on.
The memory that stands out the most to me in the Endwalker story was when Urianger spoke with Mamburida's parents and her mom gave him a hug, because I've been saying for so long that someone needs to please give him a hug, and she finally did, and I'm a crybaby, so I kind of lost it and I couldn't stop crying.
The promise that we were able to keep with the Crystal Exarch for us to be able to continue those adventures and make Graha's dream come true, that was something very special to me.
And then, as we trudge through the dilapidated Ultima Thule, experiencing the remnants of bygone civilizations, losing our friends one by one, the music kicks in as we walk ever closer to the end.
That climb in Ultima Thule, yeah, that was a very fun, very gut-punching, but fun memory.
Remembering everything that's happened throughout the years, right? Listen to the lines and voices of the characters that we met and loved, and so many emotions combined.
You know, with everybody saying their goodbyes, oh my gosh, I was sobbing my little heart out. It was so memorable. I loved it.
The culmination of a 10-year story, hearing all the classic voice lines we've heard all throughout the story, really just, it hit different.
Probably like the most powerful moment in Endwalker for me. Like I'm pretty sure I was like bawling, like in tears, just like I was inconsolable.
Thinking about even all the struggles that we face and how many times we think there's no more hope or we can't go on, and yet we still do, and we seek those bigger answers in our lives together to give meaning to, you know, our lives and others. It's just like, oh, it got me so good. Yeah, just even thinking about it makes me emotional.
I will love to say that the people who were around for my journey, including to the end of 6.0 and waiting with me, celebrating with me, is something I will forever cherish.
There is always darkness and difficult times, but there is always light, and what's most important is to keep moving forward, to forge ahead.
Endwalker was just such an unforgettable expansion.
Then came that final trial on solo duty, facing off against Meteion, and then your final confrontation with Xenos to the backing of the booming soundtrack.
One of my favorite things about Final Fantasy XIV is its amazing music, and so the piece that plays during this trial is super spectacular, especially when you hear that it combines so many different themes from past fights throughout the Warrior of Light's journey. So hearing all of these during the culmination of what essentially is the end lets you have a really, really amazing recollection of just how far you've come.
The ending solo duty is definitely the greatest piece of content this game has ever created. It's just an absolute masterpiece.
The music and, you know, like the Scions are there like giving you their prayers, and like it's kind of like, well, this is part of the moment that we've been fighting for. Like the music that plays is like so empowering.
It's pretty epic.
The first month of an expansion, to me, has always been a very special time. The update loop is yet to kick in, jobs are still very much up in the air, and everything feels so fresh and magical. All of your friends are coming back to the game, and everybody wants to do everything.
I went into the end room. I went on the bed, and I actually logged out the game. Luckily, I'm from the UK, so I'm playing on the NA servers, so I managed to slip back in quite quickly.
A 1 month period when the expansion came out before Savage got released. Experiencing the MSQ, doing the extreme trials as a static, theorizing Savage mechanics, and everyone trying to optimize their jobs was such a cool experience.
The first month before Savage and all that, and you're just left to kind of get through MSQ, do the extremes, level the jobs, just experience the start of an expansion is a really, really cool process to me. It's kind of the same for every expansion, but this one especially, being able to share that as well, just, it made it a lot more unique for me. And it was a lot of fun, man.
The time when everyone was waiting for the Chi fate, and someone typed the entire B-movie script, so that was, that was pretty funny.
We tried the solo in Palace of the Dead and Heaven on High on Reaper and Sage. And you only really get one chance to do it on a job that no one has really ever touched before, and that's always such a fun experience.
This one, I love this one. This is definitely my favorite.
Then came the eagerly awaited first raid tier. First Savage tiers always see the highest player engagement, and Asphodelos was one that lives fondly in the memories of many. This was the first foray into raiding for a lot of people, easing them gently in with Ericthonius and Hippocampus, building with Phoenix, and the finale of Hesperos and his two forms presenting the highest challenge.
For me, it would be getting into raiding. Through people willing me to go in and do it, I decided to jump into raiding properly for the first proper time.
Completing my very first week 1 in the first raid tier, we had 6 out of 8 with COVID-19, and we still managed to pull through and get the job done.
I just remember the first Savage tier and being scared and trying to pick my new job. Like, what job do I want to play? First time entering the party finder. It was just a whole new world.
I really wanted to blind prog the new fights when they came out because I love puzzles and trying to solve things, figure things out.
I was very scared, but also very excited. And now I'm so glad I did, because it's one of my favorite things to do in Final Fantasy XIV.
And I put together groups for each Endwalker tier and was able to do all of them blind, and I am so glad that I did.
Being like the first double ranged comp to clear both Asphodelos and DSR, it wasn't really intentional, like it wasn't really a goal, just the way it turned out. Since at the time everyone was dumping on ranged anyway, things were undertuned. And so kind of defying the meta and just watching all the discussion about it was like a really cool experience and a really cool memory to me.
I had a lot of personal accomplishments in Endwalker that I'm pretty proud of. I did my first real Savage raid in Asphodelos. I cleared my first tier basically on content in Abyssos.
Island Sanctuary offered a new type of lifestyle content altogether, intending to be a place to relax, gather, and catch new additions for your little homestead.
I think my favorite part about Endwalker is when I was watching the live letter for Island Sanctuary and I pretty much started crying out of happiness. I think I was just so excited about how they were trying out something brand new, and it's like a lifestyle content, which is literally everything I've always wanted in Final Fantasy XIV.
The Myths of the Realm Alliance raid series was also implemented, alongside a plethora of side stories to add depth to the game's world.
My favourite memory of Endwalker was playing through some of my favourite pieces of story content and realising that it was all completely optional side content. I went into the Alliance Raid series completely blind. I had no idea what to expect, and it totally blew me away. I think some of my biggest grins came from that questline. It was so fun. The fights were incredible, the story really interested me, and this came just after I played through the whole Pandemonium story, and I sat there thinking, wow, all of this is so top-notch quality. I really loved it, and it was that sinking realization of this is all totally optional, and yet it's giving peak MSQ vibes.
In patch 6.1, Crystalline Conflict was added, with the largest singular update FF14 PvP has seen in recent memory. A fast-paced, 5v5 objective-based game mode to replace the Feast.
It was such a shock to see this new mode coming out. It was exciting to see Yoshi P and the devs get so excited for it and playing it when they were first showcasing it. And then in patch 6.1 it was released and we all got to play it alongside the job reworks, because every job was changed from, you know, having really niche role-based abilities to like having individual kits with their own self-sustain, like unique limit breaks, and just so good how the jobs are played right now in PvP. It was nice to see the community get really excited for Crystal Conflict. I remember in the Twitch directory, like almost every streamer and person was like at least trying Crystal Conflict and ranking up in Season 1.
In the same patch, the long delayed and massively anticipated first Endwalker Ultimate released. Dragon Song's Reprise was the hardest fight the game had ever seen at the time, and combined heavy storytelling elements into the phases to weave together one of the most cohesive, adored fights we will likely ever see. The World Race was also, in my personal opinion, the pinnacle of the streaming category for FF14 during Endwalker.
They were just so hard. Just so hard, and you know, if you've ever done an ultimate, you know that feeling when you finally clear it. It just feels so damn good.
It was a blast. It was really, really fun.
That was a group of people I had been raiding with for years at that point, and it was by far the most trying experience that we had had together as a crew.
Dragon Song's Reprise was especially just, it took so long and I tried so hard, and just clearing it felt so awesome. And I miss this group so badly.
It's always tough spending 12 hours a day for 15 days with the same people sitting at your desk and trying to maintain your sanity when going through the trials and tribulations that DSR was.
LB whenever you can. Come on.
Yes! Revenge myself. Kill him! Kill him! Yes! Yes! Woo!
God. But at the end of it all, I mean, just hearing a bunch of grown adults break down in tears over the finale, trying to watch the end cutscene and like read the lines, but I can't see through the tears kind of situation.
I cried when I cleared Dragon Song's Reprise. This is the biggest reaction I've ever gotten out of a game. Ever, I think. I don't cry much. I started crying.
My favorite fight of all time. I love that fight to pieces. All that really just made Endwalker something special.
I've never done anything as hard as that before. My static was on the cusp of crumbling down, of getting destroyed before we even cleared the fight. On the day that we were about to disband, we managed to clear. It was on our last pull as well.
It was a shock to all of us on how hard it was, but we managed to get through it week 3, and I would say that was it. It was an ultimate that made me cry, and that, you know, it was tough, and it was a very fun fight. Very, very fun fight.
FF14 also saw representation at Awesome Games Done Quick, with the Palace of the Dead floors 171 to 180 and all of its tricks being showcased to the wider gaming community.
I still can't believe I was even on that show, representing Final Fantasy XIV, doing Deep Dungeon as a speedrun. And I can tell you that was probably one of the coolest gaming moments I've ever had in my life.
Role-playing saw a bit of a surge earlier in the expansion too, as content creators began to visit clubs and parties, and the player base on the whole took to them with a reckless abandon.
We all kind of simultaneously got really into the partying and nightclub scene. And so it seemed like every night somebody was at a different venue and we'd go and hang out there. You know, you'd pull up Twitch, see somebody live, and you'd ask, okay, hey, what venue are you at? And then you'd log into the game and go and find them and hang out. And we'd always end up staying until after the place is closed, after the events ended, the DJ stopped, and then, you know, we'd just be hanging out in like empty clubs. Sometimes we'd get kicked out. They'd lock the house. I got to know a lot of great people that way. I made some pretty good friends. And it's actually the reason that I turned my house basement into a pseudo nightclub that I technically never finished.
I still think about it to this day. There was a Harshiphant who was RPing with me since A Realm Reborn, and then the Vault happened. The Harshiphant left my party and I didn't see them for like weeks afterwards, and I was so heartbroken, and it really felt like I lost a friend in that moment. And we're friends to this day. It's just those moments of people making my story feel more real and deep, personal to me, is something I will always cherish.
Fishing is more popular than ever, making for simultaneously some of the most relaxing and least relaxing side content the game has to offer. With both a major ocean fishing update and new big fish to hunt, this was a time sink for many.
A couple of months ago, I started the big fish shenanigans, and I've converted people over, and I will convert more people over.
I really got into fishing. Not just big fishing, but fishing as a whole. I really like to joke about it, but fishing in Final Fantasy really changed my life in a positive way. I have a personal goal before Dawntrail to finish catching all of the big fish in the game, but all I am missing is Lancet. I met my partner through our similar interests of struggling while big fishing, and we really bonded with each other while going on multiple fishing boats together.
And I was hooked instantly. Man, I tried so hard and I stayed up for months, and I set alarms for 2 a.m. just to get like things like Lancet, Cinder Surprise, you know, the really tough ones like that, Stethecanthus, things like that. Big fishing is awesome, and if you haven't tried it yet, I would highly recommend it. It's a great thing to start working on.
The feeling that you get when you catch a new big fish, oh my gosh, nothing can compare. It's so exciting. If anyone hasn't done big fish before, I so recommend it. It's such a great time.
We also saw, at long last, the introduction of a brand new data center, which had been requested for almost a decade. This gave a new home to many players.
Finally getting the Oceanic Data Center and our OCE servers. I've been waiting for our servers for like 7 to 8 years. So it was just so exciting for them to finally announce Materia DC, and for us from Australia and New Zealand to finally have a place to call home. And it's been so much fun trying to get people together on this data center and really just lifting everyone up.
In 6.3 came Endwalker's second ultimate, the Omega Protocol. This one was even harder than the paradigm-shifting DSR, and was accompanied by more than a little bit of controversy alongside its world progression. For those that climbed this mountain to the peak though, it was truly an unforgettable accomplishment.
I really enjoyed the fight. I even was the one to manually mark people for Run Dynamis Sigma because I was insistent we do this legit. On the final raid night, the final pull, we buckled down and killed this thing. On patch, we killed the Omega Protocol, and I broke more than even the Endwalker story broke me. I always feel such relief after an ultimate clear, but this one was different, and will probably be the only one like that. I felt 100 pounds lighter when that clear scene started.
I don't think anything compares to the feeling of relief and excitement from seeing that 1% enrage on top and then going in the next time and like killing the boss. Hearing that last LB go off, having everyone in the party like screaming, like in excitement, not in pain and agony, but like actually everyone being super hyped about it. Just there's nothing that compares to that feeling. And I think clearing top was my best ultimate experience, just because by the end of it, I've never seen so many people excited.
I had my friends rally and help me get that clear, and it was after recovering from my stroke too. So just to bounce back from that. To do all that prog and to be with my friends for that clear really meant something to me. I was pretty emotional. I was probably most emotional after clearing top, just from like all the work we put into it and just everything we went through to get there.
I wanted to clear DSR and top on content, which I managed both times. I'm very proud of that. Hoping to do the same in Dawntrail.
Not only was the fight the hardest thing that they've ever introduced into this game, but I'm very proud of our group that we managed to stick together until the end. We started with the same 8 people as we finished it with. I don't really think we thought about replacing members along the way, so even though it took a very long time and it was quite a struggle, I'm very proud of the group that we managed to stick together with the people that we had, and that we also managed to clear it without having to resort to things like auto markers.
It's the most epic ultimate clear that I've experienced, and all the hard work, long hours of raid paid off. We had a few enraged pulls, and just be able to get the clear and seeing the support from the community that has been cheering on us since the beginning, you know, it was just amazing.
It was our first time really pushing hard to finish an ultimate quickly, and as the raid leader of my group, I was so proud of us clearing week 6.
The second iteration of LunarCon, a Final Fantasy XIV convention that takes place in the game itself, complete with meet and greets, panels, and events also took place.
LunarCon, the first one, is still very, very special to me, because the one thing that I always like to do, especially in Final Fantasy XIV, is connect with my audience and with the 14 audience in general. And we thought that making a in-game convention was the good way to go, because I was always doing like small things, like small costume contests or hosting events.
Endwalker also saw the uprising of multiple community-led projects to help players progress and clear endgame content with a collective of dedicated helpers.
I help run a project that's meant to help people learn and progress and eventually clear the ultimates for the first time. At the beginning, we were barely even a party, man. It was like maybe max 5 of us just jumping into Party Finder. Now we have 7 dedicated squads that help out in all the ultimates, like on a straight up weekly schedule. I believe it's really healthy, you know, that people just go back in to help their friends out.
Meeting so many people in the raiding community, you know, helping with clears, and just it's been crazy, and that was just amazing. I love that.
To date, the Ultimate Project has helped over 1,200 players get over the finish line and join the ranks as new legends. There's even a series of in-game aquariums that players can go and visit to check out the game's myriad aquatic life.
Opening the Eorzean Aquarium, that was an absolutely memorable evening, and it continues to create so many fun memories throughout Endwalker that I hope we can continue to carry through into Dawntrail.
But to me, and I'm sure many of you, my most memorable moments were those that I made with my friends. Final Fantasy XIV is a social game, and there are so many people that have made lifelong friends and treasured memories from their experiences in this game.
The Arbert that was always going around with me traveling during Shadowbringers, I loved them, I adored them. I'm pretty sure they are why Arbert's my favorite character, because I never felt more of a deep connection.
My most cherished memory for Endwalker is finding a sense of community as predominantly a solo player in other games that I had done, and really feeling welcomed into those communities that might even be considered to be a little bit standoffish or on their own.
Definitely all the time I spent with my static Sleepocat, doing Savage and Ultimate Prog and speed killing. I developed a lot as a player throughout Endwalker and created so many friendships along the way. Meeting my static members in person during FanFest was also an amazing experience as well, and I can't wait till the next FanFest when we can meet again.
I've met some of my closest friends, and they are amazing.
FF14 has the ability to bring people together, and with Dawntrail being touted as having an increased focus on group content, I feel very positive about the moments that we'll share with friends old and new in the next expansion. The Criterion Dungeons were a very pleasant addition to the standard content cycle over the last few years, with Mount Rockon, Alo Alo Island, and the Syldian Subterrane each providing a new challenge in the light party department.
It's one of my favorite things to do in Final Fantasy XIV. It led me to try Ultimates and the Criterion Savages, and nothing beats the moment of clearing content for the first time and just being like, yes, I did it, I'm getting better.
Completing the latest Criterion Savage and achieving best in slot before the relics were released.
We also received the first new deep dungeon in over 4 years.
My favorite memory from Endwalker has actually been the deep dungeon Eureka Orthos, mostly because it sort of put the two that came before it together to create what I see to be not necessarily the perfect deep dungeon, but a step towards it.
I went in there with 3 other deep dungeon veterans, and we've all been grinding this content for the last many years, so entering something that's new but still familiar was a breath of fresh air. One of us got one-shot by a bomb on the first 10 floors, and we were all like, holy crap, I can't wait to see how hard and crazy the later floors get.
Eureka Orthos had challenging bosses that honestly surprised me, with mechanics that could be very easily attributed on some of the fights to an extreme fight. Not quite, maybe, but with that sort of, back-to-back succession, a lot of the fights executed those mechanics back-to-back, which was very surprising to me.
Something that we and the community had been waiting for almost 4.5 years for a new deep dungeon to show up. And that was one of the coolest things that I had, especially being someone who's doing deep dungeon for so long.
The number one thing that comes to mind would be the time that I spent growing in my deep dungeon journey. Pursuing Necromancer on Red Mage was a huge deal to me. It was something that I hard paused all of the MSQ to do, and eventually had the opportunity to meet a bunch of other deep dungeon enthusiasts. I will forever be running the deep dungeons. I find them incredibly enjoyable and fulfilling.
A most unexpected, time-limited collaboration took place too, in the form of the Final Fantasy XIV and Fall Guys collaboration event.
I genuinely enjoyed the Fall Guys event. I think having something to do that is not just raiding, that is not just duty roulette, is really refreshing.
Even during gaps between mainline content, players found things to do. They took on old challenges, enjoyed sides of the game they'd not experienced before, and improved as players.
I cleared Uwu, T, and I'm currently progging through DSR, so I'm hoping to clear that before Dawntrail and maybe even top in UCOB as well. I've grown a lot as a player in this expansion, and I hope to keep it up in the future.
I never really did ultimates or anything until this expansion, actually. I was able to get a couple of ultimates cleared, trying to still get them all done before Dawntrail releases. And And yeah, just getting to collab and do a lot of raiding has been my big thing for this expansion.
I had never cleared an ultimate until clearing Uwu with some friends and some new friends, and I'm really excited to hopefully one day get more time and energy to be able to do another one. I don't know which one it will be. Maybe I'd like to try and get T.
I managed to clear T this expansion, which was really exciting. Loved that. I also did UCOB too, but T was definitely the big one for me. I had such a great time.
I feel like the content drought that we've had has been a great chance for me to reignite my passion for the game by taking a break from the stuff that started to get a bit mundane and just kind of enjoying the little things that I never really tried to do.
We beat our first ultimate. It was the first time I had been in any raid that wasn't a normal. I had never done an extreme, had never done a savage. We jumped straight into Uwu and ended up clearing that. Went on to go and clear top a few times. So I feel like I've really gone through a lot in such a short amount of time that was all facilitated by the people that I've met and those connections that I made.
And in the twilight of Endwalker's patch cycle, the Final Fantasy XIV FanFests made their returns, giving the player base a chance to meet up in real life once more and celebrate their hobby together.
I also went to FanFest last year, the first time I've been to FanFest, and it was so good. And again, meeting so many new people, so...
Being on stage at EU FanFest, I never thought it would happen when I started streaming. These games have meant so much to me for so many years of my life since I was a kid. To actually be a part of something where I can work with the people and the company that makes these incredible journeys and experiences that just have touched so many lives was genuinely unforgettable. So incredible. And I'm so happy that I got to share that experience with everybody.
I was on stage with a bunch of other wonderful content creators and managed to meet a lot of my audience. And it was very eye-opening, and it felt like what I've been doing had a meaning. It was right in front of me, and there's nothing you can really... There's no real way to explain how much of an effect that has on somebody. And to me, it was my favorite memory in the past 3 years. Getting to meet my friends.
It's funny, I really wanted one of the Elpis flowers, and I held off on buying one, but I kept thinking I'd really love to have one. And after I had cast at EU FanFest, somebody came up in the audience and ran up to me and managed to track me down and said, they were telling me about how much they had enjoyed it and how much they enjoyed me being a part of the community. And they mentioned that they had an Elpis flower that was in their bag that was left over from their wedding, and that they would love to give it to me. And they had a poem with it as well. And they gave it to me. And I, even now, just thinking about it, I'm so glad I didn't order one, because to me, having one handed to me felt just as profound as Medion having that hand outstretched to her,
As we look forward to 7.0 and the land of Tural, a new frontier with zones the likes of which we've never seen before, the advent of 2 new jobs in the form of Viper and Pictomancer, and a promise of the most content an FF14 expansion has ever seen, I want you to think back for a moment. If you could crystallize your experiences over the last few years into one memory that makes you smile, what would it be? What will you take with you from all of this on your journey forward? For me, it will be my clear of the Omega Protocol, like many others. I had a lot of good memories this expansion, but getting to spend a week and a half with my friends, just hanging, chatting, and working together on prog, culminating in that relief and cheer of victory, was unforgettable. I'll remember it forever, and it's something that we're going to share as friends, even if the future tears us apart. I'd love to hear yours in the comments section, so if you feel like sharing, please do tell me.
Endwalker. Truly one of the expansions of all time.
I'm contractually obligated to not be a grumpy chair this time around, and I would like to see my family again. My personal highlight of current expansion was when I beat Xenos 20 times and kicked him in the balls so hard that he and his entire lineage were exterminated in an instant. A bold choice, I must say, from the writers. Also insane that you have to level everything to 90 to get the true ending. I was proud of how my Endwalker story synopsis video turned out in the end. That's kind of Final Fantasy XIV adjacent, but I think it was a big moment for me as a creator in the Final Fantasy XIV-osphere. As far as Dawntrail goes, I keep myself out of the loop as much as possible to maintain my average expectations. I don't care about new jobs until I get to play them. I know it's a pretty wild thing to say that I need to play the game to know if I like it or not. Since I don't have insider access, you'll hear from me on that front about 13 months after the expansion comes out. What I'm mostly hoping for outside of anything gameplay related is that after all the high stakes of the previous stories, I want to see some low stakes campy goof fest where we have to go find a barrel of magic soda to cure a tummy ache. That's the kind of energy I'm talking about. Then we get to spend some more time with the characters on our 3-month bender. I think a mostly lighthearted little romp would be a nice change of pace as we get some setup for some bigger stakes down the line. But obviously I'm mostly looking forward to that new enhanced NP animation and the new Yachten. And that they'll put back Kite.
And now, I think I've said enough. So I firstly want to thank all of the content creators that gave me their time to record something for this video. I really appreciate it. And your contributions have made this video from something completely unimpressive to something that was really, really special for me to make. And secondly, I want to hand it over to them as they share with us what they're most excited to see in Dawntrail.
I think I'm just looking forward to having a good time with my friends again.
Listen, Dawntrail is my beach episode. I need this.
I hope I cry a lot. I hope it has me by a chokehold just like Endwalker did.
I'm just really excited to blaze a new trail, I guess.
I think I have to say Pictomancer.
I'd love to clear Savage Week 1.
Learning along with the community now that I actually kind of understand what's happening.
Female Hrothgar. Been waiting for 4 years.
To see what they cook up for the next deep dungeon.
The new Eden Ultimate.
Eden has some of my favorite Savage fights to date, and I can't wait to see how they translate them into an Ultimate.
Maybe go hardcore, maybe world race, I have no idea.
I can't wait to see what the devs do next. It'll be crazy fun.
When it comes to Dawntrail, I hope that I can make more community events.
I'm so excited to watch the world races. Watching world race groups prog new fights is genuinely such a fun experience.
Personally, as a Sproutia creator, I really want to give back to the community and create fun and silly videos for the community to enjoy.
Definitely the Eden Ultimate, because Eden was my first Savage that I ever did.
Hopping right out of the gate in early access or the first days of its release and trying to clear the 3 deep dungeons solo on Pictomancer and on Viper.
I'm so excited to see how the new Giles will play in PvP, of course.
Definitely playing with the homies during what I like to call the calm before the storm.
I am actually looking forward to the Eden Ultimate. I love Shadowbringers, I love Gaia, I love Rain, so I'm really excited to see how it's going to play off. I want to see if it's story heavy.
I mean, besides the female Hrothgar, you know? I think Pictomancer looks really fun.
Then they were announcing things and showing things that were so crazy and so exciting, just back to back to back to back. And now I'm feeling quite eager.
Since I played FF11 so much, I'm really interested in seeing what they have in store for the Alliance raids.
2 die channels, but also I'm really excited for new exploratory zone content.
Get into deep dungeons, because I've been into deep dungeons, but I've not actually gone into them, so I would like to do more of that.
I'm definitely looking forward to how Black Mage will play in Dawntrail. There are a lot of people who view the job as complete, so it makes it tough to innovate with new skills.
Seeing what they're doing to my favorite jobs, Gunbreaker specifically.
The idea of cosmic exploration. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit like the Ishgard Restoration or something similar to the Firmament.
They've just promised a lot of group content, and I'm hoping they can deliver on something that I can spend a good amount of time with my community, with the people who play this game, with my friends.
As a person who personally enjoyed a lot of Eureka, adventuring forays like Baja as well, I felt that was lacking getting a lot in this expansion, and the fact that they clarified that we're definitely getting that in Dawntrail has me very excited.
Hopefully, with whatever the new field instance is going to be called, they give us that prime option of, if you want to do tomestones, sure, I guess, but I want to go inside a field instance, I want to find something to do.
I wonder what big fish can be caught in Heritage Found. I want to find out. I want to know Yoshi P.
I'm looking forward to having more awesome new fish to catch, and I'm looking forward to new raids with new friends.
I think I'm most excited for the Arcadian raids and the Ultimate Eden raid.
Definitely excited about seeing 14 feel like a whole new game, as Yoshida said.
It has got to be leveling the jobs to the new level cap.
In general, I'm just looking forward to a change of scene and hopefully a change of sentiment as well.
Right, I want something where I can replay, where there's a purpose to it.
And I'm extremely excited for my personal favorite raid series to be represented in an Ultimate.
What I'm looking forward to in Dawntrail is actually the story and cosmic exploration.
Everyone coming back to the game again, just like in Endwalker, was so much hype. Seeing old friends. Seeing how those Eden raids will kind of manifest themselves and translate into an ultimate experience is definitely going to be something I look forward to.
I think I'm a little excited for this one thing in particular. Just a little bit excited. Not too crazy excited, just a little bit.